Hi guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Ifuna and today we are going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful A-line dress with trumpet sleeve and ruffle around the sleeve area. And if that's something you're interested in, let's get started. And please subscribe if you're not subscribed. So guys, this is what I'm going to be working with. I have my fabric and I have about 3.5 yards of Ankara fabric right here, and I also have my net fabric right here and my tape and chalk and scissors as well. So guys, the first thing I'm going to do is to fold up my fabric in a triangular shape, just as you see me doing, and I had to take my camera back so you have a very close view of what I'm doing. And so if you're working with a big body size, you're going to be folding your triangle in a very big way, but since I'm working with a small body size, my triangle is just this size, and this is perfect for what I want to work with. So guys, now that I'm done folding it up properly, now on this top part here, I'm going to draw a straight line, and that straight line that I'm going to mark is going to be serving as my shoulder line. And you're going to make sure that the line you are marking is enough to accommodate your shoulder measurements divided by 2. I hope you understand what I just explained, guys. So next thing I want to know is to take the length of the dress that I'm working with. And so the length of the dress I'm working with is 35 inches. So on this point now, I'm just going to mark 35 inches, just as you see me doing. And so now I would place my tape again on the shoulder line, but this point right here, and then I'm going to come down to 35 inches, and I also mark out 35 inches. So I'm going to do the same thing too on the other side as well. So guys, now that I'm done marking it out, you can see it's very visible. So that is that for the length of the dress. And so I'll come back to this point where I marked out for my shoulder line, and it's time to mark out my neckline. So the neck width that I'm going to be working with is from the center point, which I already placed my tape. I'm going to be marking 3 inches. So you can see I just marked 3 inches on this point right here. And so I'll place my tape on this shoulder line, and then I'll come down by 4 inches. So if you want to make your neck a bit lower, you can come down by 5 inches. So I'm just going to be connecting the both of them together with my curve rule. So guys, I'm done marking out my neckline, as you can see. So the next thing I want to do now is to mark out my shoulder measurement. And so now what I'm going to do now is to place my tape on this center fold here, and then I'm going to be marking my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So my shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 7.5 of an inch, and then I'm going to be adding extra ½ inch for seam allowance, and that's 8 inches. So I already marked out 8 inches on this point. So from that point where I marked 8 inches, I'll come down by 1 inch, and after marking 1 inch there, I would connect it to this point of the neckline, and that is going to be serving as my shoulder slope. So the next thing I want to know is to come down from the actual shoulder line which we marked initially, and then I'm going to be coming down to my bust point, and my bust point is 10 inches. So this is me just marking 10 inches across, and then from that point where we marked our 10 inches, I'm going to come up by 1.5 of an inch, and that is going to be serving as my armhole line. So this point is going to be where we're going to be drafting out our armhole curve. And so basically what I'm just going to do now is to make use of my French curve to connect the both of them together. So guys, on this bust line which we already marked, now I'll place my tape on the center fold, and then I'm going to be dividing my bust measurement by 4. And so my bust measurement divided by 4 is 9 inches. So I have about 3 inches extra on this side, and that's going to be what I'm going to work with for my ease, and then for the sewing allowance, since this is a free dress. So I'm just going to cut it out. Since we already folded it in a triangular form, we already have enough allowance for our hip area and our waist area. So guys, basically I'm just going to cut it out, and that is it for the front piece. So guys, to cut out the back piece, I'm just going to fold up my fabric in a triangular way, just exactly the same way I did in the front. And what I'm just going to do now after folding it up is to get my front piece, and then I'll place my front piece on the fabric that I folded for my back piece. And as you can see, I left about 1.5 of an inch for my zipper allowance on this side, and so I'm going to make sure that the zipper allowance is going all the way down, and then I'm just going to make sure that it's equal on the shoulder side as well. And after doing that, now I'm just going to mark out my neckline for the back piece. So to do that, now I'm just going to mark a straight line from the shoulder point right here, and then from that line which I already marked, I'll come down by 1 inch, and that is going to be the neckline for the back. So I'm just going to be connecting it to this point right here. So guys, now that I'm done marking out the neckline for the back piece, I'm just going to mark out the shoulder line. Like I'm just tracing the front shoulder line on the back piece, and basically that is it for the back, and then I'm just going to cut it out. So basically the difference between the front and the back piece is just the zipper allowance and the neckline for the back area. So now that I'm done with that, now the next thing I want to now is to just open up this place which I left out for my zipper allowance. And after opening it up now, on the lower part there, I'm just going to give it a notch on this point. So I'm going to know where my zipper allowance started from. And so now that I'm done with that, I'll take out my back piece and I'll keep it aside. And it's time to work on the facing for the front piece. So as you can see, I have this very small piece of fabric. So I'll just place my front piece on the fabric just like this, making sure that I have a reasonable amount of fabric underneath just like this, and then I'm just going to trace out the neckline as you see me doing now. So guys, this is what my facing looks like. You can see the neckline looks exactly like the one we have in front. So now what I'm just going to now is to place my tape on this point right here, and then I'm going to come down by 4 inches. So I'll just do the same thing round the whole neckline. So if you want to work with something smaller, you can go ahead and mark about 3 inches. So you can see I have a curve, and then after doing that, after marking it, now I'm just going to use my scissors to cut it out. So guys, I'm done cutting out the facing. You can see this is what it looks like. So I'll just set this aside now, and it's time to work on the back facing. So as you can see, I folded my fabric into two, just like the way I did in front, and then I'm just going to make use of my scissors to trace out the exact neckline on this small piece of fabric. Okay, so now that I'm done with that, I'm just going to do the same thing that I did for the front facing. This is me marking 4 inches all around the neckline. And so after I'm done with that, now I'll have a curve and I'm just going to cut it out. So guys, I want to cut out my sleeve, and as you can see, I folded my fabric into two first, and then I'm folding it up in a triangular shape, just like the way we did when we wanted to cut out the front piece. And now I'm marking out the starting point, which is this line right here. And so now I'm going to be marking the length of the sleeve. So I'll place my tape on this starting line, which I already marked out, and then I'll come down to the length of the sleeve. So if you want to work with a sleeve that is very long, you can come down as long as 25 or 27 inches, but I'm going to be marking 24 inches. And so this is me just marking out 24 inches all around this point. So guys, coming back up to this starting point now, come down by 4 inches on this part, and please mind you, this part is where we don't have a fold. So from this point now, connect it to this top part right here, and it's going to be like an S shape. So this is just me marking it out, and after doing that, now I'm just going to cut it all out. So guys, now on this part of my sleeve, which is this top part right here, I would place my tape on that point, and then I'm going to be coming down by 10.5 of an inch. So this is 10.5 of an inch at this point, and then I'm just going to give it a mark right here, and so I'll extend the line all the way to this other side of the sleeve. So now I'm going to flip it over to the other side, and so from that top part there, I'll also mark out 10.5 of an inch, and then I'll extend the line. So this line we're marking now is going to be where we are going to have our pleats. We're going to pleat our nets on this line which we already marked out. So now I have my net piece right here, and as you can see, I have already folded it up so well so that it's going to be very easy for me to work with. So we have to be very careful while cutting out this net piece, because if there's any mistake, we're going to have an issue with the measurement. So now I just marked out one line right here, so that's going to be like the starting point, because I'm going to cut that part off. So from that line which I already marked, I'm marking out 2 inches, and that's going to be like the length of the net that I'm working with. So guys, from that first line which I already marked, I'll come down by 2 inches, and so I'll also do the same thing till I've gotten to the end of the net piece. So basically the length of the net we're going to be working with is 2 inches, so I'll just do the same till I've gotten to the end of the net piece. So guys, I'm just going to cut it all out, and this first one which I'm going to cut out, I won't be making use of, because I actually just made use of that one for my starting point. So I'm just going to cut it all out till I've gotten to the end point of the net piece. So you can cut as much net as you like, depending on how full you want your net piece to be on your Ankara fabric. So now to start sewing the dress, I'm going to get my front piece and my front facing, and then I'll place the facing on the front piece right side facing each other, and then I'll pin it up on both ends, and I'll go over to my sewing machine and then I'll sew it up with half of an inch allowance on the neck area. And so on the tip of this facing, I'll just fold it up like this on my sewing machine, and after I'm done with that, now I'll do the same thing for the other back piece as well. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like after I was done stitching it up. So I'm just creating a notch on the neck area, and the essence of this notch is so that it's going to relax properly on this point, and I'll just flip it over to the wrong side, and then I'll go over to my iron, and then I'm going to iron it all out. So now I'm done ironing the back pieces and the front piece. So this is what the back piece looks like now. So I'm just going to place the both of them together, and so now it's time to work on my zipper area. So this is the zipper that I'm going to be working with. So I'll place it up on this point right here, and then I'm going to be marking it out about 1.5 of an inch before the zip is stopping. So from that point now I'll go over to my sewing machine, and then I'll stitch it up on that point, and then I'll fix my zipper. Alright guys, so this is what the zipper looks like after I was done fixing it. You can see it looks very neat. I already have a well detailed tutorial on how to fix a zipper, and I'll be linking it in my description box in case you want to know how to fix your zipper. So this is what the back piece looks like already. So now it's time to work on the shoulder area. So I got my front piece, and then I place it on my back piece just like this, making sure that the shoulder points are meeting each other just like this. And then after I'm sure they are meeting each other, I would get the facing for the back piece, and then I'll turn it over to this other side like this, and you still make sure that the shoulder points are meeting each other and they are both equal. And then I'll go over to my sewing machine, and then I'll stitch it up with half of an inch. So I'm just going to make use of my pin to pin it up on this point right here, and so I'll do the same thing for the other side of the shoulder as well. So you can see me placing the shoulder points together, making sure that they are all equal, and then I'll get the facing for the back piece, and then I'll turn it over to this side, and then I'll stitch it up with half of an inch as well. So guys, I am done joining both shoulders together, and so I'm just trying to open it up so you see what it looks like. Trust me guys, it looks very neat already. And so now that I'm done with this, now it's time to work on the ruffles on the sleeve area. So now I'm on my sewing machine, and then I have my net piece already, and so we're going to gather the net on the line which we already marked out earlier, on the 10.5 of an inch which we marked out earlier. So I'm just using my hands to make gathers on the fabric. So I'm just gathering my net on the fabric just like this. I didn't want to make a gather stitch on the net because it's going to be a lot stressful, but I think I prefer this method. So this is basically what I'm just going to do until I'm done, until I've gotten to the other end of the line which we marked. So guys, now that I'm done with the first net that I'm working with, I'm just going to get another net, and so I'll place it on the point where the net stopped, and then I'm going to continue my gathers. So I'm just going to do the same thing till I've gotten to the end of the line, and you're going to make sure that whatever you're gathering is on that line which we marked. So guys, now it's time to work on the tip of the sleeve. So what I'm just going to do now is to fold it up twice just like this, and I would stitch it up to the other end of the sleeve. I hope you understand what I just explained guys. So guys, now that I'm done folding it up, now I'll get my net piece which I already cut out, and I would place it at the tip of this sleeve, and then I'll use my sewing machine to stitch it up while I gather the net. I hope you understand what I just explained. So I'm going to be starting from this point now, and I'll gather the net on the tip or on the part where I already folded. So I'm going to do the same thing till I've gotten to the end of the other side of the sleeve. So now this is what it looks like after I was done gathering up the net on the sleeve area. You can see it looks very beautiful now. So now it's time to work on the actual dress, and so now I'll go over to my sewing machine, and then I'll stitch it up on this point by 1 inch and on this other side by 1 inch up as well. And so now that I'm done stitching it up, you can see this is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now is to take the measurements around this armhole from the shoulder point right there. So what I have on this point is about 9.5 inch right here. So I'll get my sleeve, I'll fold it up into two, just as you see me doing now, making sure that all points are equal. And so from this part of the sleeve here, I'm just going to take the measurements all around until I've gotten to 9.5 of an inch. So on this point now, I would go over to my sewing machine and then I'll make use of the same allowance and stitch it up to the other point of the sleeve. So guys, now that I'm done stitching it up, this is what it looks like. So now I'm just going to give it a notch on this center point right here, and now that I'm done with that, I would turn it over to the right side. So guys, now it's time to fix the sleeve to the dress, and so what I'm just going to now is to get my sleeve, and then I'm going to make sure that this top part where we have our notch is going to be sitting on this point where our shoulders are meeting. So I'm just going to pin it up on this point right here. I hope you understand what I just explained, guys. And so now that I'm done with that, now on this other point where we stitched up this on the sleeve area, I'm going to make sure that it's meeting this other point right here, and so I'll pin it up and then I'll go over to my sewing machine and then I'll stitch it up all around, making use of 1/2 of an inch. So guys, after I'm done stitching up this sleeve all the way around, I'll do the same thing for the other sleeve as well. I'll repeat the same process. And so now this is what it looks like after I was done stitching it up. You can see it looks very neat already. So now the next thing I want to do now is to hem up my facing to my actual fabric. So to do that, I'm going to be making use of my hemming gum. So I'm going to be cutting it bit by bit, and I'll place it in between my facing and my actual fabric, and then I'll pin it up. So I'm just going to do the same thing till I've gotten to the other end of the other side of the zipper area, and after putting my hemming gum in between, I'm just going to make use of my iron to iron it up properly. So guys, coming down to the tip of this dress now, I'll go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to fold this part up very neatly, just like this, and I'll do that round the tip of this dress and I'll go ahead and iron it up properly. So guys, this is what it looks like after I was done hemming up my facing to my actual fabric. You can see it looks very neat already. I'm taking out my pins, and so I went ahead to iron up the whole dress as well. So as for the tip, I also went ahead to iron it up. You can see it looks very neat already. So basically guys, we've come to the end of this tutorial video. Thank you so much guys for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you've not subscribed, and if you have any question, you can leave it in the comment section, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.